Right, so let's combine this into our other scene. So we're going to open up the other file, and there's actually a few ways we can take a model from one scene or from one blend file into another one. So I'm actually going to open up two instances of Blender. So let's open up a second instance. So right click on Blender in the toolbar, and then I'll choose to click on this one. So we're now going to get a second version open up without closing the other version that we've got here. And I'm going to open up the file that we were working on previously. So File, Open, I'm going to choose picture frame. So the last picture frame scene we did. Let me just make sure I'm getting the right one here. Do them in date order. Yeah, modified date. So this is the last one. And we're back to where we were over here. And the ways we can bring in the other object is, let's just make sure we go back into the layout view. Make sure I'm not in camera mode. Right. The first way we can bring in an object from another scene is to have the other scene open in a separate blend file. We'll copy it. So we do Control C, make sure it's selected, press Control C, and it'll say at the bottom, copied one object. I can now go to the other blend file and do Control V, and it will paste that in with all the materials and everything as well. So now we've got that object brought in. Now we didn't bring in the eyeballs, so I'm going to go back to the other scene. I'll choose the eyeballs, Control C, and then Control V. It's going to paste those in as well. So now we've got the object in here, and I'll probably just parent the eyeballs to this mesh so that we can move this mesh around and the eyeballs will follow. Or we could join them instead, rather than parenting them. I'll shift click on this, Control J, and now these are one object, but we've lost that mirror modifier. So before I do the Control J, I need to set the eyeballs, go into the modifiers and do Control A to apply this, and then I can select the head, Control J, and now it will join them all together. If you go into edit mode, these will all now belong to the same object. So we can select these individually. So that's the first way we can bring them in. The second way we can bring them in is to go into the File menu, Append, or Link. Now, Append will bring the object in, so let's do that. We'll come over to this one. Let's actually bring it in an earlier state, just so it doesn't clash. And we'll say Append. And then we'll go to what do we want to append? I want to append an object. So I go into the objects, and I'll say I want to bring in the cube. I click Append, and now we've got this one brought in. So that's from early on during the sculpt tutorial. And the difference between append and link is that if you link an object or something from another scene, you can do this with anything, by the way. It doesn't have to be an object. It can be a world environment, a texture, a shader, anything at all. But the difference between append and link is that if you append it, it will actually bring that object into this blend file, and you'll be able to edit it. But if you choose link, it will keep the object in the other file, and it will just import a linked version that you can't edit without doing an override, which is something for later in the course. But basically, you would use link if you want to maybe work in a group of people, and one person's responsible for modeling an object, another person's responsible for laying out the objects into a scene, for setting up the render. Now, in that case, you'd probably want to link the asset so that the other person can continue working on the asset, and all you need to do to update it is just refresh the object, so refresh the linked object. So that's why you'd use link or append, generally. So I'm going to get rid of that one now. We've got this object in here, and I can save and close the other blend file now that I've got open.